What if I told you a promise made in a single moment could come back a year later and shake an entire city to its core? Not just emotionally, not just musically, but economically, culturally, globally. Because what happened in Tampa wasn't just a concert, it was a takeover. And at the center of it all was Kim Seok-jin. Let's rewind for a second. A year ago, Jin stood on a stage in Tampa, alone. No members beside him, no massive group choreography, just him. And tens of thousands of people who showed up with a kind of passion that's hard to describe unless you felt it. That night something shifted. Not just for the fans, but for Jin himself, because he didn't just perform and leave. He made a promise, a quiet one, but powerful. I'll come back. Not alone, but with BTS. Fast forward to now, the lights of Raymond James Stadium are blazing. The city is glowing purple, literally. Bridges lit up, streets buzzing. The airport welcoming fans before they even step outside. And everywhere you look, there's one phrase echoing across screens, across phones, across the world: welcome to Florijin. Inside the stadium, it's electric. You can feel it before anything even starts. That tension, that anticipation, that heartbeat shared by tens of thousands of people waiting for one moment. And then, the music hits. The stage lights explode, and Jin appears. There's something almost unreal about the way he commands attention. Forehead exposed, features sharp, every movement precise. It's the kind of visual presence people try to describe, but never fully can. But what truly locks the entire stadium into silence is his voice. That first note, clear, stable, effortless, and then he climbs, higher, higher, and higher. No strain, no hesitation, just complete control. That signature siren tone, soft but piercing, delicate but powerful, fills every corner of the stadium. This isn't just live singing, this is mastery. This is why people call him the Live King. And yet, it's not just about perfection, it's about connection. Because Jin doesn't stay distant. He doesn't stay locked into choreography or fixed positions. He moves, he plays, he interacts. During Into the Sun, a moment that could have been just another high note in a set list, he does something unexpected. He steps off, breaks formation, walks freely across the stage, laughing, high-fiving each member as they pass. It's spontaneous, unscripted, human, and somehow in the middle of all that movement, all that chaos, his vocals don't waver, not even once. Then comes the moment fans won't stop talking about. That tiny gesture, so simple, but so powerful. A thumbs up, a kiss sent directly into the crowd. And just like that, the entire stadium erupts, because it's not just a gesture, it's acknowledgement. It's affection, it's him seeing them. And when the music pauses and he finally speaks, that's when everything becomes even more emotional. He looks out at the crowd and asks, who was here last year? And suddenly, thousands of hands go up. Screams fill the air, and for a split second, you can see it. That recognition in his eyes, that memory, that connection that didn't fade with time. He tells them something that changes the entire meaning of the night. He says that after performing here alone, he told the members they had to come to Tampa, that this city, this energy, this crowd was something special. And standing there now with all of BTS beside him, he says he doesn't regret that decision at all. Not even a little. And in that moment, this isn't just a concert anymore. It's a full circle story, a promise made, a promise kept. But what's happening outside the stadium, that's a whole different level. The phrase "welcome to Florijin" isn't just trending locally, it's exploding worldwide. From the US to Korea, fans are talking, posting, celebrating. The city itself feels like it's part of the tour. Roads near the venue, controlled, packed, alive. Merchandise booths, sold out almost instantly. Local news stations, running special programs just to explain what's happening, what BTS means, how Korean culture reached this far, and why this moment matters. And then come the numbers. The kind that don't just impress, they shock. An estimated $800 to $900 million in economic impact from a single tour stop, hotels, restaurants, transportation, tourism. Every corner of Tampa feels it. This isn't just entertainment, this is influence. And yet, even with all the mashtab, all the numbers, all the global attention, the most powerful part of the night, it's still that connection between Jin and the crowd. Because at its core, this wasn't about breaking records. It wasn't about headlines. It was about a feeling. The kind you only get when an artist remembers you, returns to you, and gives you everything they have again. And the story doesn't end here, because this is only the beginning of the Arirang World Tour. 31 performances, 12 cities, each one about to experience their own version of this moment, their own version of Florijin. But Tampa? Tampa will always be the place where it started, the place where a promise turned into reality, where a city lit itself purple, where a voice echoed through a stadium and into millions of hearts. So the next time someone asks you what makes a concert unforgettable, you might think about the lights, the vocals, the scale. But the real answer? It's this: a promise, a return, and a moment where thousands of people realize they weren't just watching history. They were part of it.